2014. It's now, what time? 6:33. Rise for a moment of silent meditation. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Bast.
Here.
Cassatt.
Here.
Moak. Here. Sosar.
Here.
Mundy.
Here. Next is approving the minutes of the previous meeting, September 23rd, 2014.
I'll present.
Second. On the question, on the minutes? No problems? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Minutes passed. Proclamations, communications, none. Courtesy of the floor regarding matters on our agenda only tonight. Nobody? Okay, old business, ordinances none. Resolution 2014-101, adopting the reduced amortization option according to Chapter 6 of the Municipal Pension Plan Funding Standard and Recovery Act 205 of 1984, as amended by Act 44. It was tabled on 9/23/14.
Motion to remove.
Motion to move from the table. Second. Roll call.
Bast.
Yes.
Cassatt.
Yes.
Moak. Yes. Sosar.
Yes.
Mundy.
Yes. It's off the table. Motion to present.
Second.
On the question? Roll call?
Bast.
Yes.
Cassatt.
No.
Moak. Yes. Sosar.
Yes.
Mundy.
Yes. Next is Resolution 2014-103, approving the contract between the City of Hazleton and the International Association of Firefighters Local Union 507. It was tabled on 9/23.
I think that's...
No, it's out of order. I don't have it. I'm missing 103.
You're missing it.
102 and 103.
Well, 102, was 102 the HUD? Is that off?
Yeah, 102 passed.
I'm missing 103, Lisa.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah,
Want to hold up 1 minute? I'll make that.
okay.
Anybody else?
Yeah, everybody.
Let me see.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Yeah, I don't have 103 either. Lisa, I don't have it either.
Well, that's the contract.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
Jack, if it's missing, you have to give them the opportunity to
What?
talk. Since it's missing, you have to give them the opportunity to talk about it because it wasn't in their agenda either.
Okay. Okay, would anybody like to talk about the fire contract, why it's being printed up, because it wasn't in your packet?
The length of the contract, has that been approved? Or is that...
The fire contract, it's been tabled, she's getting it, it wasn't in your packets, so she's making some copies, but you're allowed to talk about it.
How long is the contract for? Is it for 7 or 4 years?
It's 7 years.
Is that too long or problem?
Well, we're going to talk about that.
That's okay. No, don't worry, thank you. I just didn't see it, that's all.
Yeah, yeah. You can speak, yeah, go ahead if you want to talk.
Dave Fatullo, 105 Mark Road, Hazleton, President, Local 507. I did have the pleasure to meet with Jeff the other day, and we did discuss the 7-year and how, he felt that it's not legal and you can't bind your successor. And, again, according to our legal counsel who does, hundreds of these types of contracts, it's binding arbitration, so as you read in the paper, you could do 2 years, 2 months, 2 weeks, whatever the two sides come to an agreement to. And, just think of it in general terms. If you would have an agreement to the end of Joe's term, okay, and we couldn't bind the successor, that means there would be no contract until the new mayor would be voted in, and then you'd have to negotiate with that guy, and it would only be for 4 years, but you'd miss your arbitration time of November 12th. You'd always be in arbitration because you'd be without a contract every 4th year, which it's not the way it works. So, just thinking about it in those type of terms, it doesn't happen. It's as long as the two sides negotiate, again, 1 year, 2 years, 7 years, whatever the case may be, that's the way, it happens. And I don't know if Chris ever got back to you, but again, that's the position of our legal counsel, and, again...
Say something? Go ahead, Dave, you could say something.
Mr. Petula, I understand what you're saying here in terms of the beginning of another mayoral's term. And I don't think that was the general intent of the legal opinion. Now, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to speak to it in that way. But I think what they were saying is that within the term of any mayoral person who sits in that position, he or her would have the opportunity to negotiate a contract, whether it be the first year, whether it be the 3rd year. They would have a means by which they would be able to. So you could be looking at a 3-year, a 4-year without really any difficulty. I think it comes in under the binding of the person who would be sitting in that chair next would never have an opportunity to meet with his or her firefighting squad, the fire drivers, and say
Fighters.
to them,
Oh, go ahead.
yeah, I'm sorry, but to say to them, let's sit and negotiate, and where do we go from here? I think that was the general intent of what the law was intended, the spirit of the law, rather than the letter. So I'm only making that correction right now because I would believe that that's what they're talking about.
And again, if that was the fact of
Right.
binding your successor, then every contract would start and end every 4 years, and that's not the way it is. Joe did the highway, which is I think last year, which would bind the successor of, if he's not elected next year, it would bind that successor, or ours that he was bound with. If that was the true facts and the way it's supposed to be, every contract would be 4 years, but actually negotiated every 3.5, because you'd have to wait for your the next administration to come in and go forward from there, and that's just not the way.
Right, and there's really no saying that it has to be a 4-year contract. It could be, obviously I've been involved in contracts for a long time myself, and there have been 2-year, 4-year contracts. There have been all kinds of contracts. Most oftentimes, mine has been a 3-year contract. When I worked with the Hazleton Area School District, 3 was what they like to go with. And I got to be honest with you, one of the things that I think it becomes problematic, and I don't think there's any way to look into crystal balls. That's one of the problems that we all face from either side. But one of the things that I've been watching carefully is the position of the Fed. And there seems to be a lot of discussion right now that the Fed is going to stop pouring money into the government probably sometime next year. What that will lead to is an awful lot of confusion within the market and within the government and the possibility of inflation. Again, we're talking about assumptions, and we talked about that before. But a 7-year contract could be equally damaging for both you guys and the city because of what we may very well face. If there's an inflation, let's face it, you guys get burnt royally in that because you're bound by a contract which you can no longer afford to buy what you used to be able to buy before. If there isn't, and things dip down even further and there's a recession, you're asking the people of the good city of Hazleton to finance something that, by all means, with downturn of homes even further, and we've seen the housing market so far become problematic. A 7-year contract, I've always been a believer of at least a fairly lengthy contract, but I don't know if 7 years is necessarily the best way to go. I understand your position on it, and I can appreciate that. I do have some qualms about some of this from my perspective, and again, it's assumption. It's assumption.
Well, I just want to say one thing while you're up there, Dave. It doesn't matter what he thinks about contracts. Our lawyer, the solicitor said that a 7-year contract is illegal. We can't vote on it. So we have no choice.
When did this become illegal?
When Chris emailed me and said that it's 4
No, I'm
years is
saying-
the max. I mean, that's what I'm telling you. He told me. So
Was it illegal 2 years ago or
Well,
7 years ago? I mean, that's what I'm saying. At what point did it become illegal? Because, again, 7 years or 6.5 years ago.
He sent me an email. We can't approve a 7-year contract. So I don't know what else I could tell you.
He had an explanation about.
Well, could I ask one question in the
Yeah.
meantime while they're
Yeah.
discussing? Was Mr. Slusser involved in the negotiations at all?
No.
Okay.
He was not in.
Were there any?
He was not in the room.
Was
so.
there a?
What did you say?
Mr. Slusser?
Oh.
Was there any lawyer involved for the city at all in the discussions?
In the discussions, no. What they talked about outside of the room, I have no idea.
Okay. But
But it was myself, my committee,
right.
the mayor,
I would
and
hope
Tom.
that you had a legal counsel sitting with you as you were dealing with this.
No.
No?
No, that's not necessary and I've
No.
negotiated contracts too.
No, it was me, JT, and Jeff. That was it.
Okay.
And then we forwarded everything down to our legal counsel, and again,
And
he does.
He reviewed it and gave
Yeah.
you the thumbs up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Jeff
Okay.
wants-
Okay, Jeff, you want to say
That's-
something? Well, we're gonna.
Do we want Chris's statement into the?
Yeah.
Or do we wait? Well, I guess we have to wait till we open this. He's still in
Well,
public
let's at
comment.
least say, I'll
Okay,
make a
thank you.
motion.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll make
Okay.
a motion to take it off the table.
Second.
I'll second. Or Jeff.
Okay, Jeff second. Roll call?
Bast,
Yes.
Cassatt,
Yes.
Mope,
Yes.
Sosar,
Yes.
Mundy.
Yes.
I'll present it.
Second. On the question? Go ahead, you could read the
Do we wanna
statement. Go
read
ahead,
this?
Jeff. You could
This
read
is-
the statement.
This is
from-
Chris Slusser's, I guess, legal opinion. I have also been recently asked to provide my opinion relative to whether or not the proposed CBA with the city firefighters may be for 7-year term. In short, the answer is that it may not. I have also conferred with the city's labor council, and he concurs with my opinion. Specifically, this is because the court sees this as a governmental function rather than a proprietary function. A governmental function cannot be contracted for in excess of the term of the governing body, in this case 4 years, or the term of the council. A proprietary function can be contracted for 10, 20, or even 30 or more years. There is actually an appellate court decision involving the HA on this very issue regarding a land lease with the hunting club, where the court ruled that the lease was a proprietary function and thus was proper and enforceable event through the term was for 30 years. The result was different. but the court did a thorough job explaining each function in its opinion, which provides guidance in rendering this opinion to you. Thank you, Chris Lesser.
I mean, are you talking municipal, are you talking collective bargaining, or are you talking leasing land? Because there's two totally different laws.
Well, the case came up with the land, but in the decision, they broke down all the different governmental functions and the proprietary functions in the release of the court summary, I guess it would be.
Well, we could fax it over. At least you could get you a copy of it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I guess, what we could do, because it's on the table, we could table it again.
Table it again.
You have a motion
I'll
to
move
table?
move the table.
I'll second.
Second. Motion to table?
Bast,
Yes.
Cassatt,
Yes.
Mope. Yes. Sosar,
Yes.
Mundy.
Yes. Next is Resolution 2014-104, entering into negotiations with Glenmead Trust Company, N.A. for investment management services of the City of Hazleton's pension assets.
Motion to take it off the table?
I'll second.
Roll call?
Bast,
Yes.
Cassatt,
Yes.
Mope. Yes. Sosar,
Yes.
Mundy.
Yes. Motion to present? I'll present it.
Second.
On the question? I guess, is anybody here from the pension? Nobody's here from, I know Mr. Stieber was on the pension. Nobody's here.
Chief.
Chief, maybe you could come if anybody has any questions. You could come to the podium. Yeah, that's good. I know the pension board voted for Glenmead, and I don't know if anybody has any questions. I don't really have any questions. I'm familiar.
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead.
Just once again,
Go ahead.
Chief, this is not for anything other than beginning the negotiations of a contract. This is not a contract in itself. This just gives you the right. And this is what we were talking about last time, to give you the right to go ahead and talk to these people, to come up with a contract that would end up having to come back to us anyway.
Absolutely correct.
Okay.
In the RFP, before we, as the super board, the pension committee, are allowed to officially notify the winner,
Right.
it has to be ratified by council that we could enter into contract negotiations. If council voted no tonight, we would never be officially able to call a company and say, hey, you won, we're going to enter into contract negotiations. So this is the step to give you the approval for the board to enter into negotiations, at which time it will come back before council as a contract for you to approve.
And how long were they doing it, the previous company, Chief? Do you know?
16 years,
10 years.
yes.
Okay. Pardon? Without being bid. Hasn't been bid. Yeah, I know. Has there been any problems with them in 16 years? Have you have any disputes or?
First time he's been at this here in Lord knows how long.
So that's okay. That's a problem. Okay, I understand.
Lack of reporting and I think just costs.
Okay, well that's okay. Okay, I just want to know if there's anything major or yeah.
No communication.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
There was no communication.
That was, from my understanding, what spawned the whole, let's look at doing an RFP, was because we went 16 years without any contract, that there was some unhappiness in getting questions answered in a timely fashion, and the city, the super board, decided
And
through the
what-
unions, it's time that we bid this and see what's
was
out
it
there.
awarded under whose administration? The first contract. Really?
Yeah.
And nobody could find the contract. That's it, I have enough questions.
Unfortunately, no.
Okay.
No one could find any contract.
Okay,
Okay,
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody,
No, I'm
questions?
fine.
Thank you.
thank you.
Roll call?
Bast,
Yes.
Cassatt,
Yes.
Mope. Yes. Sosar,
Yes.
Mundy.
Yes. Next is ordinance 2014-17, amending the annual plan for community planning development programs to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for fiscal year 2014. First reading.
Present.
Second. On the question? Is anybody here from, is Fallon, yeah, come to the podium, please, Fallon. Go ahead, you have a question?
Yeah, I wanted to know exactly, it's going into City Hall, what's going to be done with that money that's moved?
It's going to go to the elevator project. It says right here, 2014 Public Facility City Hall. Oh, I didn't put elevator. I'm sorry. That's my error. Public Facility City Hall elevator. It's going directly to the elevator project.
Okay.
Yes.
How far are we along with that project? What's going
What
on?
happened was back in August, we received one bid. HUD does not accept one bid, so we had to go out to rebid again. The bids were back today, and the city engineer is reviewing the proposals, and hopefully we'll award at the next council meeting.
I thought
The city
Barry
engineer or
Ryan-
the CD engineer?
The city engineer, because I don't have, community development does not have an engineer.
I thought Barry Eisen had this contract.
No. Well, they do, I just don't have a signed contract with Barry Isaac.
Why not?
The mayor won't sign the contract.
The mayor won't sign it.
Didn't we pass
Great.
something that we gave it?
Yes, there was I believe you passed a resolution a few months ago.
Yeah, and even if they weren't signed on, they still were supposed to finish the elevator project. if
The
I'm not-
elevator project, yes. However, Dominic Yanuzzi from Alfred Benish is doing this. City has not paid for him at all. He's doing this, I guess, on his free time, goodness of his heart, I'm not sure.
So now, who's doing the elevator?
Dominic Yanuzzi as the city consulting engineer.
Who gave it to him?
The mayor. The mayor. His cousin gave him whatever he
But
wants.
I can assure you that community development has not paid Alfred Benish a cent.
It doesn't matter.
No, well, I'm just letting you know.
I mean, we gave it to another company. We passed the other company. The contract wasn't signed by the mayor for the other company. They were supposed to do the elevator. Now it goes out for bids again, all right? I don't want to end up in a legal problem here.
There won't be a legal problem because I'm not a lawyer, I don't know, but what I'm saying is I know legally from the standpoint with HUD, there has been no exchange of HUD funds to an unprocured engineering firm.
Is Dominic here? I saw him come in the building earlier. Is he here or?
I don't see him.
He was here, came in the building at 6 o'clock.
He's not interested in coming here when we have something on the agenda?
Well, it's only a transfer. It's nothing to do with him. It's a transfer
He's
of community
just-
development
No, but
funds.
it
He's
does
just
have
doing
something to
work
do with
at
him
the-
if he's doing the work,
At the
though.
mayor's behest, but you don't know if he's getting paid or not, because the city could be paying him.
I don't know. That I don't know. I can tell you community development is not.
Has not paid him.
Yes,
So-
community development is
So
not.
the money that would have been paid to the engineer for community development, what happens with that money?
It's just sitting there until I have an engineer, yes.
Okay, so then, did the engineer
Fallon?
any money for this already? I mean,
I'm sorry?
did the engineer, when they were doing it,
Barry Isaac, yes, they were paid, yes. For everything that they have done, they were paid up to date, yes.
Fallon, you will not pay any engineer until you hear from us, right?
Oh, I won't pay well, Barry Isaac I paid because
Exactly, and I
they
understand that.
promised to do the elevator project. However, I have not paid Alfred Benish, and I don't plan on it because according to HUD standards, the firm that I pay has to be properly procured, and I don't really have that right now.
Could you tell us if the engineering portion of this does get paid, even though it's not being paid
Oh, I
by
can
you?
inform you, but I can guarantee you it won't be coming from CD funds. If the administration decides to pay Alfred Benish for this, I don't think I would be privy to that
Well,
information.
that would have to come in front of us as a transfer, I would believe, anyway.
Yeah,
And
so
we
I
have
mean,
not been given any information about, in fact, we haven't done a transfer
Oh, we
this year.
haven't done a transfer.
We haven't done a transfer this year. So that should tell you something.
Okay, any other
But you,
questions?
just as long as you do not pay anybody unless you get
Oh,
the
no, I
official
don't plan on
okey-dokey
it.
from us, and then we will pursue legally whatever else it is that we have to do.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
sure.
Thank you, Fallon.
Do you have any other questions about the transfer?
I just knew that what had transpired, and it left me with a big
Mm-hmm.
question as to what
The
was
bids
actually
came back today, so I'm hoping for the next council meeting to have a contract on for approval.
Okay.
I'm hoping.
And is it going to be the person, the company
sorry?
that we passed, or will it be a new contract with somebody else?
No, it'll be a new firm, because what happened was the first time the bid was astronomical. It was $286,000, and CD doesn't have that fund. So what happened was I only received one bid also, so I had to go back out to bid again, because HUD does not prefer, they prefer at least 2 bids. So that's why I came into this process again.
Fallon, do they have a time frame of when they might finish it, or?
I believe it's the middle to end of February.
I know, Scranton, they're
Scranton's
I
running
saw
into a
that on the
problem
news,
right
yes.
now with that. Scranton's running, and this may not be the best place to bring this up, but Scranton is running into the same kind of problem with an elevator problem, and the city council of that city has actually decided to hold their meetings outside so they can find someplace that's handicap accessible, which this council might want to consider somewhere along the way.
We'll be in the lobby.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Fallon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fallon.
No problem.
I got a question.
Oh, go-
No,
wait, go-
No. Do we have to amend this to say elevator on here now? Do we have to amend that?
It
It's
has
just a
the line,
typo.
it has the line item number.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
I could
No,
correct the
okay.
typo.
I don't think we have to amend it. Okay, roll call?
Bast,
Yes.
Casat,
Yes.
Mope,
Yes.
Sosar,
Yes.
Mundy.
Yes. Next is Resolution 2014-18, an ordinance of the City of Hazleton rescinding ordinance 2013-20 and reenacting ordinance 2006-14, entitled an ordinance to authorize direction of various signs and the changing of Garibaldi and Manhattan courts to one-way streets to facilitate the reopening of the Castle School building at Wyoming and 9th Street, and adding the plowing of snow to the west side of Manhattan Court between 9th Street and 11th Street. First reading.
I'll present.
Second.
On the question,
On a question.
Chief?
Thank you, Council.
Chief, I'm not trying to give you a hard time, but I do remember sitting up in the balcony the last time, and one of the things that was said was that this was necessary for the safety and protection of the kids.
Correct.
And now we're reversing it at this point, and I just want to be cleared. I don't mind doing this. I
Right.
want you to know. But what were the problems that you ran into? Why does this then become the better fix?
Sure.
If you could explain that to me, please, I'd
Certainly.
appreciate it.
Apparently, with the new school opening, the castle
Right.
has lost some staffing. It's no longer feasible or capable for the current staff to post at all of the intersections necessary on Manhattan Court to properly stop cars from coming the wrong direction or coming the correct direction and stopping the kids. Last year, it was working. However, this year, there's no way to do that. And so therefore, when I met with the school district, they said we can't put any bodies out here, and the only solution is to go back to the way it was so that the children don't step out between cars, don't step out between buses, and have cars coming in 2 directions. I witnessed it firsthand, which was what prompted the email.
Right.
So that, in no disrespect to council, I made a temporary change until you could vote, but it is definitely based on the fact that there is no longer the ability to put people at those intersections and stop cars, because if you remember when we changed it, We allowed it to be two ways. However, during the egress of school, it turned back to one way for that period of time. That we can't turn it back to that period now because there's just nowhere to stand somebody there or stop cars.
And this will be exactly the way it was during the exit of school then, that you said it turned one way for that time period. This will be a duplication of that, but
Correct.
continual.
Correct. We're actually returning
Okay, that's fine.
returning back to the
Correct, yeah.
2006-14. The only difference to this ordinance, so that there's no confusion, is at the request of the school, and what makes sense, and in discussing it with Frank Vito from the Highway Department, it makes absolutely no sense every other year to push the snow to where the buses have to pull in.
Right.
So therefore, because the castle has now turned into a transit, let's use buses, it's the request to put in here that the snow permanently between 9th and 11th Street be pushed to the west side.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Council.
Roll call?
Bast,
Yes.
Cassatt,
Yes.
Mope,
Yes,
Sosar,
Yes.
Mundy.
Yes. Next, resolutions, Resolution 2014-106, appointments to junior council.
Presented.
second.
On the question?
I'd like to thank all of these young men and women for wanting to be on junior council and to spend their time here once every 2 weeks during the school year. I know it's a time commitment, and sometimes these meetings can be very long, and they have other commitments. They might be in sports, they might be in other clubs, and they also have homework to do. And I know what the time constraints are on all of them, and I want to thank them and their parents for their interest in doing this.
Here, here.
Are any of these students here?
Yeah, I was just
Is
gonna
anybody
ask,
here?
are any of the children here present? Josh?
Students.
No, they're not here too.
Okay.
Nobody's here?
Will they be notified then for the next
Yeah.
meeting, though, right?
I told
Okay.
them, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? No. Roll call?
Bast,
Yes.
Cassatt,
Yes.
Mope,
Yes,
Sosar,
Yes.
Mundy.
Yes. Next is Resolution 2014-107, recognizing November 2014 as Epilepsy Awareness Month.
present.
Second.
On the question?
I'm sorry, who seconded?
I did.
Okay,
Oh, sorry.
thank you.
Dr. Sosar. On the question? Roll call?
Bast,
Yes.
Cassatt,
Yes.
Mope,
Yes,
Sosar.
Yes.
Mundy.
Yes. Next is Resolution 2014-108, approving and, about what?
Present.
Oh, okay. Approving and hiring police officer in accordance with police civil service rules, Brett Green.
Present.
Second. On the question? Chief?
Thank you again, Council.
He's replacing who?
She
She is.
is replacing Lieutenant John Leonard. We had 2 retirees in 2014, well, 1 resignation and 1 retiree. Officer Levine replaced Detective Chris Orozco, who left in July or August, and then Lieutenant Leonard left, which leaves another vacancy. And so we will have a second woman if council is so supportive tonight. I have my fingers crossed with, this is my 2, but yes, this will be the second
Where
woman.
does she live, Chief?
I know that she's within 10 miles. She had been a part-time police officer in West Hazleton, and I know, again, in accordance with the civil service rules, she will be within 10 miles before she starts day
Is
1.
it 10 air miles or street miles, or what is it?
I don't know that that's ever been defined. 10 miles, I don't know if it's nautical or how you divide it, but to me, 10 is 10. If I can go from the closest boundary to your house and Google Maps says that it's less than 10 miles,
Okay, I was just curious.
That's driving, because if we're going to Google, you're not going to Google in your airplane, I don't think.
Well, again, I'm not sure what it is, but I usually just go to Google Maps, and if I put the 2 points in there and it says it's less than 10 miles, they win.
Chief?
Yes, sir.
Could you give me a little bit of background as far as the experience of this young woman, please?
Yeah. Her experience is that in June of 2014, the city police posted and did the civil service test.
Right.
We had 15 applicants.
Okay.
9 of them passed the physical agility and the written test, and of those 9, 3 of them passed and entered into the oral examination and successfully passed. 9 of them made it to the oral, 3 of them made it to the written. Of that, Brett Green scored and is number 2.
Okay.
We hired number 1. I know that Brett Green has been a police officer locally for several years.
Okay. That
I
was what I was
personally
concerned.
have not heard anything bad or that would negate her from being a Hazleton City police officer.
No. Please don't misunderstand me. I'm not trying to.
I understand.
To be critical of anybody. I was just wondering about the experiences there. Do you know how many years, for example?
I don't know how many
she's
years,
been
Doctor.
on as a part-time police officer with West Hazleton. She served any place else? Is there any military experience?
There is no military
anything
experience.
Like that?
I know that it's been several years. I'm going to say at least 2, if not 3. She is
Okay.
currently Act 120, which
Okay.
means that
So
she
she's
will not
past
have to
that.
go. And absolutely, Doctor,
Okay.
she holds a valid Act 120 police card. So she is ready that if we get the approval, that she could come right on board.
Okay, has she had any, and again, I this sounds kind of snobbish on my part, and I don't mean it to be. Has she had any other training in terms of like a criminal justice background of an associate or a bachelor's or anything like that at all? Because I know that so many people today,
Sure.
I see so many at school. That's why I ask.
Sure.
Does she have some of that experience
I
background?
have no idea, Doctor. All I know is that she's number 2 on the list, and as the
Okay.
rules go, number 2 being only, I say number 2.
Right.
Number 1 was hired, and
I
that's why
understand
this name is in front of you.
I understand
I know
that.
that she has certainly passed all of the qualifications necessary and shines to the point where she's next on the list.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
A little clarification.
Sure.
Now, we have already hired 1 woman police officer, and we're going to have to accommodate with a locker area for them to change in.
That's correct.
And so right now, they're using the women's bathroom, I believe she is.
No, ma'am.
No?
What used to be the ticket clerk office, as soon as you come in the lobby, has been turned into the temporary minus an ADA-approved bathroom. That's the female locker room.
Okay, and I'm just saying for clarification, this woman, if she gets put on as a police officer, is okay with this accommodation
Sure.
for right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, with all respect to anyone, I wouldn't want to change in a bathroom myself. And so this is actually
The
a
better.
full-fledged office changing room where multiple lockers could fit in, and will be ample space until such time that we can get through whatever the process is to officially build a second locker room, which will need an ADA-accessible bathroom.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Thank you,
Thank you.
Counsel.
Thank you, Chief. Roll call?
Bast,
Yes.
Cassatt,
Yes.
Mope,
Yes,
Sosar,
Yes.
Mundy.
Yes. Okay, you're welcome.
you're welcome.
Comments from the audience? Go ahead.
Norman Tarantino, the Court, Hazleton. First question I have, one thing that I didn't bring up at the last council meeting, was there is a shack on a lot on Wyoming and Tamarack Street that's selling food. They're claiming that they're a mobile restaurant and they are covered by the Mobile Truck Act, but that shack has not moved for the last couple of months that it's been set up there at Wyoming and Tamarack Street. I'd like to know what kind of authorization and what kind of approval they have and what kind of regulations allowed them to put this food shack up there and leave it there in that lot.
You'll have to talk to Chief DeAndrea about that. after the
Or
meeting.
maybe Mike could answer that. Mike, is
Mike
you
could-
familiar with that, or? Okay. Go ahead, Chief, you can answer it. Go ahead if you want to, or, go ahead.
No offense to Mike, but this one falls under the Health Department for the inspections. Fortunately, unfortunately, there is no ordinance that governs mobile food vendors, and it meets the criteria because it is mobile. So therefore, all it needs is the health inspection once a year, no different than any of those other food trucks. Although it doesn't move, it's a food vendor
Does
that,
he have to get a business permit?
right.
So he has-
Not a business permit, it has to get a license and
Business
needs a health
license.
inspection.
A business license?
Yeah, but it's different than if you were opening a restaurant.
Right, but he has a license
Right.
to operate,
Correct. And he is actually inspected by the health department.
I
once
saw,
a year.
Yes.
I saw Mark here before. I don't see him now. Would we know if there is a health permit that was granted?
I'm sure that there is, and I could certainly double check, but I could tell you right now.
I'm just
In
asking.
the conversations with Mark about all of our
There's a lot of
mobile
these
food
that have
vendors.
popped up along
right.
the way, yeah.
Unfortunately,
But we're no different than any other town.
Shudder, if you may, I truly believe in the next few months, I have got to put before City Council an ordinance that is going to change the governance of mobile food vendors. I think that it's not fair to the business across the street that pays all of those licenses and fees and sign permits to allow for a mobile vendor. I think they should be either fall that they're just a business and they have to meet the same criteria, or we should really stricten up what it is that we're going to require. The movement, every 10 minutes, you've got to go 3 blocks. You can't return to a space within 2 hours, just something like that. So if you live in an area, pick an area, Laurel and Broad Street, you shouldn't have to listen to the generator run all night. You should be able to say, in 10 minutes, that truck is gone, it won't be back for 2 more hours. By the time the 2 hours rolls around, there's not going to be any business, hence you're not going to see them again for the rest of the night.
I would suggest strongly that I know that they had a situation like this in Scranton.
Right.
You may want to visit some of the literature and the ordinances that they passed up there.
They were actually here for a meeting with us yesterday.
Okay.
I've reached out to several cities, but I do believe, unfortunately for us, I just think it's time that we never had to worry about it in the past, but I think it's getting to the point where Mr. Tarantino brings up a good point. I mean, I've been out at 2 and 3 in the morning myself on Saturdays and Sundays policing these vendors, but there are some loopholes that I believe for the benefit of the city and the businesses who pay all these taxes, we're going to have to tighten them up.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
I agree, something has to
Thank
be
you.
addressed.
And one thing, so you say if you do work on an ordinance, I would agree with the chief. It said that it should be a motorized vehicle, that it should have an engine and have to move from place to place, not a standalone van. If it was something that was up for Fun Fest, it would be a different situation, but not something that hasn't moved in months from the vacant lot that's there on Tamarack Street.
And that's exactly what there were a number of trucks in the square, Mr. Tarantino, up in Scranton, why I mentioned that to the chief. So there are, rather than reinvent the wheel just right off the bat, we may want to take a look at some of what they've done and how they've answered it, and at least take a lesson.
Yeah, and there's also another trailer that's been parked up by the shopping center by where Wise's used to be, and they would fall in the same class as
Right,
this van
right.
on Tamarack Street. So
Right.
both should be looked at the same time.
Exactly.
We've never had this really occur in Hazleton. This is like one of the new
It's a new
events
thing,
that
yeah.
we have. So till we can get it addressed. But he's right, Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, they've had similar problems. But New York, it's a constant. They have it all the time. We might want to look at how New York handles their vendors because that's a constant with them.
I also heard you discussing about changing, going back to the old ordinances regarding some of the course and directions. I think that it's time, because of the vehicles, that some of the courts be studied to be made one way. Like I live on Lee Court, and it's very narrow. When you have two vehicles coming at each other from both directions, it makes it somebody has to back up into a major street. So I think you need to look at addressing the courts and maybe turning them all into one way or the other.
Part of the problem with that, I think, is there are more and more people that are parking in the courts than ever before. There are a lot of homes back there. There are a lot of homes that have been subdivided, whether it be appropriate or not, and you've got an awful lot of people who are parking in there.
Yeah, that's just, I mean, I do park in front of my, I park against the wall that's onto my side that traffic could get through in one direction, but it's when you get those barrel heads when you're meeting somebody, and that's what concerns me. I want to find out what...
I know, but they do.
Have you been identified with what the status is with the money that we were gotten from the casinos for rehabilitating City Hall? Has there been any bids or anything? What's going to be, how that money is going to be spent, and who's going to be the contractors? Has the City Council been privy to that, any of that information?
I don't know.
Yeah, no. Right now, I know.
I mean, it's just been awarded, so we haven't gotten
They're
that far
looking
yet.
into different avenues, whether they're going to do this project compared to another project, all right? So that's in the mayor's hands right now.
Will the council have to approve how this money is spent, or can that just be spent by the mayor?
One would hope that we have
I
a
would
chance
say
to
we
deal
should,
with it, but
we should have a say
God
in that.
knows.
But the
Let's
mayor
see.
does what he wants anyway.
It's an honor again to talk to the council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other comments? Okay, wait, somebody's coming from the back.
Yeah, I'll quick.
Go ahead.
Dan
Go
Basal,
ahead.
West Hazleton. I think you guys need to look into the chief's ordinance that he was trying to pass with the yard sales. Like, people are putting their businesses up, brand new stuff on Alter Street everywhere, and calling it a yard sale.
Yeah, we're
It's
going to
not
revisit
fair
that.
to the business people that pay all the permits.
I just recently got a copy of the ordinance, and we're gonna
We
definitely,
were-
we're definitely gonna look at that again, Dan.
We were
Thank you.
just talking about it, so.
Yeah, I talked
we're
about it
with
this
you.
week.
That and these garages that open up and they work on the sidewalks and oil, block the sidewalks. Could you do
Well, that's
anything
something
with that?
different. That doesn't have anything to do with yard sales.
I know. Could you do anything with those garages that
Well,
just
that's,
We addressed
open
that
up
with
and-
Chief DeAndrea.
that's a different area, Chief. That's people that have garages and are doing work. That's different.
But fortunately, we address as many as we can with code enforcement
Yeah.
help that we just got out there
I know, they're out there doing a good job. They
The
just hired
worst
some
one's
code
over by
people.
Tunison's. I mean, I smashed my truck there twice
Okay.
for double parked cars.
Oh,
That's all I
double
have to
bar
say.
cars.
Thanks,
Well,
council.
that's a different story.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Hello, I'm Miss Fabergé, legal name Carol Ann Zielinski. And I know this is not appropriate time, but I have to say that Mr. Sosar was my 5th grade history teacher. I own Fabergé Follies, and hello to everybody who's here.
Listen, thank you for your work. I've seen your girls. They're fabulous.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
Yes.
For anybody who doesn't know about Down Schools, my business is on the between Vine and Locust on Broad Street in Hazleton, and I've been there 25 years. And every week, about 250, not students, but 250 lessons pass through my doors. So there's a lot of activity. And I also have a residence at the corner of Diamond and Locust. And over the course of the last, I suppose, few years, and then increasingly over the past few months, and it seems like weekly and daily, it's exponentially getting more horrific, the crime. And it has affected my numbers in my business and money. My enrollment is down 20%. Who wants to bring their little kid to Fabergé Follies in Hazleton? It's getting harder. And that was really just an annoyance up until now. But now the bank across the street was robbed, and now the church was robbed. And it's really only a matter of time until I get hit. My business looks like there's money in it. It has lights going and it's alive and up. So I am extremely concerned. If someone comes into Fabergé Follies throwing a machete around, there is no telling what little kids are going to do. And then little kids are going to get hurt. I feel like I have to do everything. That drove me here now. The church was the last straw. So I feel like the parents are trusting me, and I have to do everything that I can do to try to help this. Additionally, through government bureaucracy and progress, I've continuously lost more and more parking spaces at my business. So now I do have a parking lot in the back, which is really pretty rough back there. And 16-year-old girls drive their cars and park back there, and it's dark and it's scary. And I, who am not afraid of anything, am starting to get scared. So I am here for 3 reasons: to ask for some help and to offer some help. The way I would ask for help is really maybe just if we could have a little, I know that nobody has time, and I know there aren't enough police, and I have no attitude about anything. I'm just asking if possibly when the police drive, that they might be able to just drive past the back of my building or even the front. And that would be what I'm asking for. What I'm offering is, I don't know anything about government or police forces or how many police or anything like that. But I do know that I don't think that that's the answer. I think the answer is the citizens have to get totally tired of it and come forth and offer to help. We can't sit back, go into the movies and leaving it sit on everybody else. So I think it's inconceivable to me that a bunch of thugs can take over the city of Hazleton, and I will not stand there and allow it to happen without coming here and saying that I'm willing to offer anything, my time. I don't know if there's any citizens groups going on. I don't know anything about it, but I'm here to offer myself wholeheartedly. Mayor Rudy Giuliani cleaned up the city of New York City. I cannot believe that we can't do something here. And by the way, Rudy Giuliani has a connection to Hazleton. I mean, there's just all sorts of things that maybe we can do. I have a certain set of skills. I'm not afraid to talk. I don't really know the facts, but I am willing to give of myself to try to help. I'm not sure if there's any programs happening, but I want to go on the record. I think I saw Police Chief DeAndre, I think it was this chief, had the coolest thing in the paper, something on the front page it was, and he was saying, we have to do something, the citizens have to do something. I don't know what we're going to do, but we have to do something. Was that you, Police Chief?
Is there a crime watch down close to her, Chief?
It doesn't cover Broad Street, however, if I might, Lisa,
go ahead.
When we're done, I'll make sure you have my cell phone number. I'd love to come to at least talk to the people, so God forbid there was a problem.
Right.
We knew how to what we should do, what we shouldn't do. I'm more than happy to do that in the interim of, I certainly mention it to my patrols.
To run
Broad
past.
Street and the street behind you are streets that we're on constantly, Spruce Alley, Maple Street, Oak Street, Grant Street. We're on them all, but I'll mention to them again your concern. And then hopefully we can figure out how to address it so that it isn't fearful.
Yeah, and I'd really like to be a part of something attacking it in a bigger way too, because
we have crime watch groups and whatnot. But may I suggest, only because I know your neighborhood and everything else, and yes, it is scary in the back. I mean, especially for your older girls, make sure your lot is well lit. Okay, number one. Number two, you might want to invest, and I hate to say this, but we've all had to do it personally, in a security system, possibly with cameras. This way, you can actually monitor what's going on in the back of your building while you're doing a class, You have a TV monitor that you could see. I have one in my own home that, this is why I can tell you personally. It's an expense, but it pays off in the long run only because your insurance gets lowered due to the fact that you have security. So it does help balance itself out a bit.
And thank you. I do appreciate that. And I do want to make sure it doesn't get lost. The idea doesn't get lost that these are all things where we are still, and yes, and yes. But we're reacting to people who are controlling our lives. And I would really like to get going on something where we take a little more action to fix that up rather than react to people who are after us. Okay, so I have a little bit of a bigger thought in mind. My next question, which might be for the officer, I have a permit to carry. Can you stand in front of? Does that have to be concealed, or can you stand there with a gun?
Go ahead, Chief. You can answer about the open carry law.
It's your right, whether or not you have a protection permit to open carry in
You
the
can
United
open
States.
carry.
In Pennsylvania, absolutely, with or without a protection permit. You need to understand that there are places you cannot open carry, federal buildings, courthouses, schools. Other than that, you cannot go into a private business where there's a sign that says no weapons allowed. That being said, you are allowed to open. You can walk down the middle of Broad Street with a weapon showing, and that is your amendment right to bear arms. So open carry, yes. It has nothing to do with a protection permit or not a protection permit. If you have a protection permit, you then are allowed to carry that weapon concealed.
Okay.
There's the difference.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Fabergé,
So sorry, would like to say
first of all, I would not, if you were carrying your gun, because I know you so long, would I want to take any
No, wait, what did you
advantage
say?
because
You
I
what? You what?
I'm only a little target, but I know you well enough that I know that you can shoot the eyes out of anything that you
Right.
look at. So I would
Thank
not
you.
want to go there, okay? I can appreciate that. One of the things that, and I understand the dilemma that you face, and I'm going to ask you direct, because I've had a lot of people tell me one way or another. If there were cameras on your building, would you have a problem having those cameras aimed at the sidewalk, aimed at your parking lot in the back, and letting those go on the internet?
If there were cameras, what, city cameras?
Just cameras that
Personal
at this point, instead of, I don't want to intrude on anybody's personal space and in the business or anything else. What I'm concerned about, what I want to see, is as many cameras focusing on the bad guys as possible so that they know if they want to try to do something, they're going to get caught on camera and we're going to know who they are.
Okay, well, that I would have to think about a little bit. I can't shoot from the hip on that.
Sure.
Because I, in general, don't like cameras. I don't like the government looking at me. But I do understand we have a problem here.
Right.
So that would have to be, I would have to talk more before I could answer that.
Okay.
But you could have cameras that only you could see. I mean, the cameras, I mean, he suggested about the internet, but you could also have cameras that they're totally yours, they're your copies, they're your information. And
Right. The only thing
only
that
you
I'm
can see
concerned
them.
about really is not within your building, not within your studio, not within anything, but it's still my belief that if we have cameras that are focused on a sidewalk, which is a public walkway, on the streets, which are public streets, that people are going to think twice before they do anything in regards to committing a crime because they may see who I am.
Well, that might be one answer, but I'd have to think real long and hard about that.
And that's fine. That's fine.
She has a business, so
Right.
she has to make sure her clients would be
Sure.
comfortable with that as well.
Well, I just don't like cameras.
And I understand.
Right.
What I suggested is just so that you yourself can keep your eye on the parking lot to make sure your kids are safe. I mean, that's the most important concern.
Yes, I'll do all.
Your back lot?
Excuse me?
Is your
Yes,
back lot lighted?
yes, and I appreciate all this, and I know those are the things I have to do, and I appreciate
Right.
you taking everybody's time to tell me that, but I'm just also saying that the city as a whole, like, let's do something. And I'm here, and it doesn't have to just be this reactionary stuff. I'm ready to go. Let's go.
Right.
We understand that too, but we also have to protect our citizens as well.
Yes, and I'll do those things within my business, but I'm here offering to say let's attack it on a bigger scale. Let's stop letting the thugs run our life, and I'm offering my time and my energy for whoever wants it, that we can do something or get together and do something. I don't know what it is.
Judy is very active,
Proactive,
all right? And she's the person that go to,
she maybe
between
help
her
you.
or the chief, to get you started and on the road.
Thank you. I don't want to take any more time. I do appreciate it, and we'll chat. Okay, and anybody else who wants to talk to me, I'm ready to go. I'm tired of it.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead, Judy.
Hi, Judy Urcho, Hazleton. There's a couple things I want to talk about. First, this is the second time the firefighters had to come here and get denied their contract. And it's no fault of council. It really isn't, because things have to get clarified. We have our solicitor saying one thing, their attorney saying another, and it doesn't seem like anything's on the same page. These guys, they work hard, and they go into buildings, and they have things fall on them, and they risk their lives when they're going out there. And I have the privilege of meeting quite a few of them, and I know if you ask them, if you have a cause that you're doing, they're there in a heartbeat. But we have such a split ground on it, and I don't understand why. Everybody needs to get in the same room, and nobody wants to.
I suggested to the mayor that he hire a professional negotiator for all the contracts for the fire, the streets, and the police, and that went right over his head.
Well, it's sad that, he has a contract, and these are city workers. These are guys that work for the city. They'll go without a contract and still perform their job, and he doesn't even have the audacity to sit there. He tells the solicitor not to come. And these guys have to wait again. And I'm sure they're getting tired of it. Are you? Yeah. Something has to be done on there. Get everybody in the same room. And make sure Slusser's there too. So, like, when you guys say something about your contract, 7 years, have him say it to your face. Because right now, they're going by emails and texts and everything else, and it's ridiculous. You guys need to have a contract signed. You need to get to what you need. And, God bless you, because you're going to still go out there and do what you got to do. They're good guys. They really are. I got to meet a lot of them, and they're really good guys. Now, the second thing, other than all the shots that I went on Facebook last night, because we had a Crime Watch meeting, and things were discussed there, and we did have a bigger crowd than we normally do, and it's because people are getting fed up. We have shots fired, and probably while our Crime Watch meeting was going on, that's where we got, Wyoming Street, Cedar. I went on Facebook and I was like, oh, well, the poor police officers in Hazleton were busy chasing cars all night. What's going to happen is somebody's going to get killed, and it's going to be somebody innocent. It's going to be either an old person, a kid, just somebody walking down the street. It could be me. And then this city is going to explode. Now, right now, we need to get the citizens. She's right. The citizens got to get involved. Taxpayers can't afford to get any more police officers. I wish we could, but there's got to be a different way to find the funding there. I don't even know if that'd help. We're so far in the hole right now with all the crap that's going on. We've got heroin addicts. We've got abandoned buildings. Last night, coming home, I watched one of my friend's babies, and I ended up coming home early. At our Crime Watch meeting, we were talking about a house that's like 3 doors down from where I'm at. The house was foreclosed on by the bank. Wonderful bank puts all these papers up to let everybody know that that house is now foreclosed on and abandoned. I think it was Sunday, the neighbor who's been up there checking on it goes up and finds out that the house has been broken into. Goes into the cellar, and all the pipes are cut. They're all waiting there to get taken away. Last night, coming home, it's about 4:45 in the morning. I go through the alley because I knew about this, for them letting everyone know in the neighborhood. And there's a truck parked up against the house, and there's a light on the second floor. I went around the block, went into my house, called 911. They responded within 10 minutes. But by the time I pulled around the block, the light was off, and apparently they got spooked. The patrolmen that they went in the house, I saw the flashlights. They were in there for a good 20 minutes looking to see if anybody was in there. They came out. I went and talked to them. Very nice. I think I spooked them a little bit because, I got the flashlight right on me. But they said, but the door going to the cellar, unsecured. Who owns the property? The bank. It was foreclosed on. Is there a way that we can get a listing of all the foreclosed properties? So, because these guys are getting arrogant. They'll go into anybody. They'll go in the middle of the day. I know they did it in West Hazleton. Plumbing truck pulls up and they go in and they steal the pipe. They're stealing wire out of the wire. Is there a way that we can get a list of the foreclosed properties and get these banks to make sure that they are secure? Because now we're watching this because we're afraid they're going to come back into the neighborhood again. And we know that they're not upstanding citizens that are taking this pipe. They're probably drug addicts. I don't want it in my neighborhood. I'm sure nobody else wants it in theirs. So is there a way we can do that?
I think we could get a list of those, yeah. The chief is working on that.
We're working right now on another type of registration where...
Come on
Go
up.
ahead, go ahead.
Come on up, Frank.
It's a great idea. And all of these things, unfortunately, we're getting into the world where we never had to think about this stuff before, and now we do. So one of the things that we're trying to figure out is how to legally make, if your building goes empty, if your building is foreclosed on, it has to be registered. And there's going to have to be a fee to have a fork because it costs us money as the city. We had 3 cops, respond to it. Code enforcement and the maintenance department boards them up. So there will have to be, for your consideration, some type of fee. If you're going to have a foreclosed property, an abandoned property, it's registered. And there will be a fee structure. Now, this is still early in the making, but we are certainly looking at saying we have way too many of these, and we spend way too much of our resources, because God forbid, while we're busy clearing your foreclosed, bank-owned, abandoned property, somebody is walking down the street and did really need a police officer. We're busy because your house is abandoned or foreclosed, and you can't even keep it locked. So we're certainly looking into this. We're trying to pool some other cities to see who has these ordinances. What can we do to at least say, if you're going to cost the city money for us to spend our resources there, there's going to have to be some way that we could recoup the costs, and or possibly say, you only have X amount of time to allow this to be in foreclosure or something similar to that. And if it's, I'm not sure what the answer is, but I'm in total agreement tonight. We've got to do something.
There's a lot of aspects to
Right.
look at. I mean,
Yeah.
I know the houses get boarded up, they still get broken into and
Right.
whatnot. We have the cost of boarding them up, which the city has been bearing. So we have to look at a way, and he's correct, that these banks, which are now the owners of the property, step up to the plate
Right.
and do what's necessary and secure the building and be responsible for it financially.
What I'm worried about is, you're welcome.
Thanks.
What I'm worried about is what happened on Alter Street. We have 3 buildings that are now toast, basically, because,
The church on Alter Street got broken in twice with the plumbing and it was stolen out of there.
that's what I'm
Not once,
saying.
but
I mean,
twice.
we have the risk of fire. We have the risk of just criminal mischief. I'm fed up. I'm fed up. We need people to start stepping up. That's the thing right now.
No.
And it's like, it's okay to say, oh my God, Hazleton's going to hell. Yeah, but we got to start pushing back a little bit. We got to keep our eyes on our neighbors. I don't care if you like them or not. But we got to stand up for, that's the only way we're going to help everybody.
I think the neighbors have to get to know their neighbors again.
Oh, absolutely.
We've gotten to the point where we're not what I consider what we had years ago, where people sat on the porch and talked, all right?
It was a clothesline club.
Nobody knows the neighbors. When you went someplace, you asked your neighbor to watch your house. We need to, bring some of those methods back, because they did work. They didn't have security back then, so they relied on the neighbors to keep an eye on their property. It's...
the people who are making money is right now like anybody who's selling a firearm or an alarm system or guard dogs, or that's who's making all the money now, because everybody's scared. People that were at my meeting last night, I don't go out after dark. That's ridiculous.
I agree.
We have to, if anything, if I could say to anybody in Hazleton, if you care about what's going on, and you're fed up about what's going on, then start forming, even in your own little neighborhoods, even if it's a block, start getting together and start pulling together. If there's a car there that you don't know, call the police. If they're loitering and you think that there's something suspicious. If you see something going down, call the police. And I know Frank's probably sitting there going, "Oh my God, we're going to have 9,000."
No, he's okay with that.
But if it gets to the point where they're constantly getting told or saying, "Oh my God, I was sitting here, I was going to do a drug deal," and cop pulls up and says, "What are you doing here?" Or one of the neighbors came out and said, "Can I help you?" I can't go here anymore. So they're going to move it down. Hopefully we can move them out. That's what we want to do.
It's neighbors caring about neighbors.
Absolutely. And that's where we got to start. And I'm sorry, I'm a firm believer. We got to start joining. We can't keep dividing everything, saying, "Well, this is Hispanic group, and this is the white group, and this is the Jew." We can't do that. We've got to say, this is Hazleton. Whether you're Hispanic, you're white, you're black, you're Chinese, I don't care what you are, but we got to get together, and we've got to start doing it for the good of the kids, for the good of the city. And that's basically all I got to say. You guys have a good night.
Thank you, Judy. Go ahead.
Bill Baran, Hazleton. She takes the words right out of my mouth. How'd you know what I was thinking, Judy? You see it where you are, I see it where I am. Neighbor had furniture stolen the other night, right off the corner of Vine and Green Street, out of his backyard. Shots fired near the corner of Spruce and Vine. And it's getting closer to home. Doesn't make me panic. It makes me angry. Or angrier. Those 3 chairs are, again, vacant. With the exception of city council, this administration is about as transparent as those blinds. This is ridiculous. The second council meeting I've been to in less than a month, got vacant chairs again. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a sign of disrespect. That's what it boils down to. Take a look at the pictures of all the mayors around you here. Yes, there have been people who haven't shown up, probably for, family emergencies, personal illness, things of that nature. This is absolutely inexcusable. When the citizens of a city this small cannot trust their own administrators to show up at a meeting. Oh well, because that's where the distrust works up. This is not trickle down. This goes up from here. It works its way into the state, and it works its way into the federal government. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Just follow the trail. It happens. Now, I assume that gentleman will probably be down on the corner of Wyoming and Broad Street tomorrow when they do the heavy lift of the modular structure to build the bridge to nowhere. That is what irritates me the most. Public money is being used to finance private projects. And that is about as wrong as it could possibly be. And I read in the paper yesterday or the day before where more of that money is going to go to the HNB building. No, yeah, I'm sorry, it should be wrong. There should be a way to turn that around so that the proper funds can go to the proper places, as in the police department, who need policemen, to continue contracts for the firemen of our city, volunteers too. Great respect to all of you. You deserve it. That man right there gets no respect. I will turn my back to him, but you can be damn sure I'll be down at the corner of Broad and Wyoming Street tomorrow too with the mask down, because it's a sideshow and it doesn't need to be that way. I see you nodding. Yeah, no kidding. But everybody that's been following what's been going on over the past 6 months or year with that beautification project or whatever you want to call it knows exactly what I'm talking about. And in regards to the crime, I'll say it. I said it before, I'll say it again. You come in my house with it, I'll put you outside in a body bag with the garbage. I don't care what you bring. That's the way I'm starting to feel. When an 80-year-old neighbor packs a piece, that's pretty sad. A woman who's lived in this city all her life. I'm getting one too. I think I finally have my wife convinced that she might want one too for personal protection. Because the shot's getting that close to my house within a block. Yeah, maybe it wasn't meant for me. It was meant for somebody, along with all the other shots that went off in the city yesterday. I think it's a cartel war, to tell you the truth. That may make me sound like a very suspicious person, but there's enough gang activity in this town to warrant that statement, and everybody knows it. It's a cartel war. It's a turf war. You step on my sidewalk, I'll shoot at you. How many houses and cars have been shot at in the past month? This is ridiculous. It's beyond ridiculous. It's retarded. And I will say to the members of the crime syndicates and their hand-picked associates from Newark or South Philly or wherever they're coming from, I'll be damned, we're going to take this city back. We're going to do it on our own, with the help of the police, of course, because only tips can lead to arrest. Only tips can lead to leads that can make arrest. We're not done. Not even close. This is my city. It's your city. It's everybody's city. We're going to fight for it or not. Think back on the march that got brought down here that took up how many state police barracks with horses and everything over the shooting of Jonathan Gary. I will not comment on that further. Look at the chaos it caused. Maybe we need to march up Alter Street, down Wyoming Street, across the avenue, wherever. Do it spontaneously. I said, this is not about me. This is about you. You're the anonymous person now. You're the one that doesn't know your neighbors. Yeah, hopefully some of them are still around. Most of them have moved out. We know that. They can't afford fees. They can't afford taxes. Just getting too old, just getting too sick and tired of it. The only way we can accomplish this is just like Judy said, pay attention. I said it the last meeting, I'll say it again. Take 5 minutes out of your busy day and walk around your block. And if somebody you know is in that area, sees you, hey, what are you doing out? Just looking out for things. How have you been? I haven't seen you in a while. Yeah, I do this every day because I'm just keeping my eyes open. And that's the way we're going to do it. Can't be accomplished any other way. Those policemen need our help. I suggest keeping your eyes open and your ears open might be the way to do it. So until something better comes along, until more policemen come along, until maybe the federal government or the state says, yeah, we have $1 million extra we'd like to throw your way. excuse me. When that'll happen, your guess is as good as mine. Well, on second thought, no, it isn't. They'll never do it. You can beg and plead all you want, but we have to do it ourselves. Wake up, Hazleton. Come on, wake up. I'm trying to shake you awake.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I wish you peace and good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Stay safe.
Go ahead, Dee.
Dee Deacus Hazleton. I agree we need more police, but we cannot fund full-time officers. After listening to the pension report where we're talking about $4 million, and had you paid the full amount is $5 million, if you have more full-time employees, your pension is even going to go up more. So not only do we worry about the salaries of the policemen, we have to worry about the effect on the pension, which goes back to if we increase our police force, the only way we really could afford it, taking in, besides their salary, besides their benefits, besides the pension, is to go part-time. And you should have it that after somebody retires, one of the part-time officers will be promoted up to full-time. But that's the only way we could honestly afford more policemen. I really would like to see more policemen, but we also have to look at our ability to pay for more policemen. Thank you.
Thank you. Judy, go ahead. You could come up.
Judy Dowd, Hazleton. Can anyone tell me who owns the parking garage now? The problem with this is the parking on Chestnut Street. On Tuesday of last week, in our building, they had it's a foster grandparents type thing. But people from outside the area come to that, and they use our community room. The parking spaces were open on Chestnut. There was no signs, nothing. They parked there, they got tickets. Wednesday morning, there were signs, permitted parking only. The mayor cannot define to me what permitted means. I have a permit on my vehicle to park in the parking garage. Tomorrow, they're closing that garage. He told me I need to get permission from his office and give him my license plate number and the make and model of my car, or it will be towed. So, is it private parking? And if so, then they need to change the sign. Or is it permitted parking, which I have a permit, but my other question is the permit even valid? Because Deb is telling me the parking authority still exists. The mayor's office saying it's been dissolved. Where is my check going? Who do I make my check to next month? You cannot get through to the parking authority. When you call, it just rings and rings and rings because they tell me it's disbanded. So I'm paying a check every month, apparently for a permit that is invalid because it says HPA. So there is no more HPA, they're telling me. So, in other words, he told me if I park there, I can be towed because the HPA has been dissolved. So I needed to give him my license plate number and the make and model of my vehicle. None of this makes any sense. Meanwhile, he's ticketing old ladies, which there was no sign, don't park there, that it's permitted till the next morning. He's ticketing people on fixed incomes that had no idea they couldn't park there because somebody painted the white lines on the road. Somebody put those parking spots there. So you would think if there's no sign and there's no meter, hey, gee, I can park there, which is exactly what they thought. And then they get tickets. And then they go into the building manager, and the building manager calls me and says, do you know what's going on Chestnut Street? Well, no, I don't. But I can tell you when I was walking, there's orange dots there, so I guarantee you the signs are going up very shortly. The next day they were put up. I don't know, like I said, who is the parking garage under now? Next month, who do I make my check out to? Or do I make a check out? What are they doing with the stinking thing? And what constitutes permit parking? I always was under the impression that if you had the sticker on your rearview mirror, like hanging from your rearview mirror, and you were given a permit number from Hazleton and you're paying a check every month, you're permitted. The idea of that Chestnut Street parking was to take the businesses from the garage that park there during the day so they have somewhere to go while they're doing this on the garage. That's another thing that they can't answer for me. The structural issues are not being addressed. As that gentleman said, they're building a gateway to nowhere. We don't even know if, we know the garage isn't structurally sound, but yet they're going forward with this walkway. I've called every day. and I keep getting the same.
You talked to the mayor's office, Judy, or
What?
you talked to the mayor's office?
Yes. And when I call, I've called every day for the past 2 weeks. The mayor's wife can tell you because she answers the phone.
And she doesn't know what.
What they tell me, she does look into it. She gets back to me. She does get back to me. But I keep getting told it's going to start in 3 days. This has been going on a month. It has been going on a month. I keep getting told it's going to start in 3 days. And I'm talking about the structural issues. I'm not talking about the tunnel, and she knows that.
You've been left in limbo then, in other words.
They can't even tell me where to pay my payment. I mean, I'm parking, I paid for up till November 1st, I'm paid. But nobody can answer. They're telling me there is no more parking authority. So why is someone cashing my check that's made out to the Hazleton Parking Authority? Isn't that kind of illegal?
Yes.
I mean, so they're my questions. Like, who do I even go to with this?
Well, the mayor doesn't tell us what he's doing, so
Oh, I
don't
know.
He's not telling you what he's doing, but.
But this is a
parking-
public parking, well,
Yeah.
it should be. The signs on Broad Street say public parking, and they have an arrow showing you where the garage is. The sign that they put on Pine Street says detour to public parking. So I guess it is public parking, but nobody can answer about this, where you even pay.
No, I'm just at a loss, and the question I think that is kept on popping up again and again is there a parking authority or is there not?
Right.
And you know what? Every time you hear one answer that there isn't, somebody else comes up and says that there is.
Yes.
Well,
I don't
last
think that
November-
anybody really is sure at this point, and the only person that can really answer that obviously isn't here.
Last November, I was told to make out my check I went down with a check already made out, and I was told to cross it out and initial it and make it out to the Hazleton something department because it was under the city of Hazleton. So I did that. 2 days later, I was called back down and told to write a new check because you can't initial it twice because it went back to HPA. This is what I've been dealing with.
Judy, the last time I talked to Chris Lesser, and I asked him precisely, and he said to me, oh, this was dispersed and that was dispersed to properties or whatever, and everything's been taken care of. And I said to him, but were the papers signed? And I said, it's like a divorce. You get the house, I get the car. I said, everything was distributed, supposedly. I said, but were the papers signed? He said, no. That was a month ago.
That's what Deb keeps telling me. The papers weren't signed.
So I'm not sure at this point from a month if anything transpired in between. The only thing we can try to do is get a hold of Chris Lesser and get a definitive answer, again, where we're standing.
The other question I have is why wasn't, now Wednesday the garage is tomorrow, it's closed. The only reason I saw this sign, because there's no attendant there anymore. She's there in the morning. She comes in on the bus, she works from 8 to 1. The girl that was working till 7 at night was let go. So there's no coverage on that garage, the gates are up. The renters don't need to use their card to get in now because most of them come in before 7 in the morning when this lady's there, and they leave after 5 when she's gone. So if the wind wasn't blowing the other night, I would have never known I couldn't put my car in there tomorrow night. Because they have a little piece of paper taped, and it says Hazleton Parking Authority. If you leave your car there and if it's damaged, the garage will be closed on the 8th. There's 2 individuals that are using that as like a rental to store their vehicle. They weren't even told because they don't come and check on their cars. Why wasn't a letter sent to everybody who is a current renter telling them that garage was going to be closed? Because now you got 2 vehicles in there tomorrow that these people don't even know that work is going on, and God forbid something happens. They're going to say they resolve themselves of any kind of a problem because that's what the letter says. That's what the paper says.
Right.
It's being done
We have to get something from Chris.
horribly.
Yeah,
We have
we're
to
going to get some
something
information from
Okay.
Chris about the
to find out even if the
authority, and
building is insured and by who.
We'll find out where you should send your check, Judy.
Okay.
We'll get some information from
Okay.
Chris.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think the paperwork did come in from the state 2 weeks ago that it's dissolved, but the mayor just told the employees at the end of last week that it was.
Okay, so when is he going to inform us?
Probably not
Well, it
ever.
took 2 weeks to inform the employees, so I'm
But I know that even those people that got those tickets, I'm sure
Yeah,
Joe
but
Zoll is
you-
pretty
you
reasonable.
heard that before too, Jeff, if I recall.
Yes,
And then
I-
it wasn't dissolved.
No,
So,
I'm just,
until we get an official paper, I'm not going on
and
anything.
I believe Chestnut Street still has no parking, even though the lines are there and it says permit
Lisa,
parking.
maybe you could send Chris a letter and asking him about the parking
Signs are
authority
gone?
if it's dissolved
Okay.
from council. And ask him where the people who were previously paying for their permit to the parking, who they should send their check to and who they should write it out to.
Right.
Okay, any other questions? Go ahead.
Dominic Tallarico, Garfield Street. I have a question. The rental registration list, is that public knowledge?
Where's the chief?
That would be something.
I just asked him.
Okay, that's one.
That
second.
would be something we'd have to ask Chris.
Okay.
That would,
Well,
it
I
might
had-
come under the open records, I don't know.
I'm asking for a reason. I had an idea, but I don't know if we could do it. Felony convictions are public knowledge. You can find that information on the internet. If that list is public knowledge, you could possibly give that list to the crime watches and have them cross it and find out where the convicted felons are living. That would help us say, I have a heroin dealer
You can
living
go on
across
the
the
internet and
street.
find out where convicted fellow, you can go on the internet.
But what I'm saying is compile it,
Yeah.
put it on a
But I mean, you don't need
website.
the rental you don't need that, you can go on the internet and find that.
Yeah. But if you had the list, you'd be able to say, these people live in my crime watch neighborhood and this is where they live. It's also a deterrent for people to move here.
That's something that Chris would have to answer. We'd have to check with Chris on that.
You get what I'm saying, though?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I mean, if somebody's going to move here and they know that when they move here, they're going to go on a registration list and that list is going to be checked for felonies, it might deter them from moving here if they're planning on selling
Have
drugs.
to talk
or-
to the chief on that as well, because once somebody serves their time,
Yeah,
right?
but I mean, we'd have to talk to Chris about
Yeah,
that.
we'd have to find out the
Yeah.
legalities.
We'll check on that with Chris.
So we're not considered profiling.
Well, like I said, if it's public knowledge, it is.
I understand what you're saying.
The list that you get for the rental registration is the thing I'm not sure of. But if that is public knowledge, then that means I could request that list.
It might not be, but we'll check with Chris, Dominic. Might not be.
Lisa, add that to Chris's notes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
My name is Joe Scalise. I live on Alter Street. And I want to address a concern. Several weeks ago, there was a fire right across the street on 10th and Alter. And the fire department did an excellent job putting it out. My question is, who cleans up now? That's a hazard the way it's standing. There's shingles all over their sidewalk. Not to mention there's probably nails underneath. And this winter, the snow ban goes on my side of the street. It's going to force me to park and others to park across the street where there could be nails, anything in it.
Let me check with Mike. Mike, do you know? Are you familiar with that, the property, or so soon? Okay. Sometimes they have to wait for insurance money and payment. Oh, it's at the magistrate. Okay. Well, Mike, they're working on it now, Joe.
Yeah, it is a concern. It was
Okay.
just
Thank you. Thank you for bringing it up.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
The owner doesn't even have clear title. He lives in Berwick.
Oh, I remember that one. Okay, but
Yeah.
Okay.
Mike's, we're working on that. Thank you.
Thank
Joe.
you.
Thank you. No other questions, comments from council? Keith?
I do have one that I had a question for council majority that I asked before, and we just got another letter from Charlie DeCosmo with the lawsuit that was in front of Judge Burke on the 1st of October. And I asked before, and when was he hired to represent council?
I have the minutes from one of the meetings. I could fax that to you.
Not as advisor, but in this instance.
Oh.
And how much is he getting paid, and where's the engagement letter?
I think we discussed that at the meeting, but I can get you. I know I have the minutes from one of the meetings about that.
Didn't he give an opinion on that also send that opinion to Keith.
Yeah,
I believe
yeah.
he gave an
So,
opinion.
can you please get me, like, where he was hired, how much he's getting paid, how much he's billing us for at this point for this whole lawsuit, and also the engagement letter?
Okay, yeah, we'll
I
do
would
that.
like all that.
It might have been a meeting you might have missed. I think you did miss that meeting, now that I think about it. But we can get you that.
Okay, I'd just like to see all that.
Okay, okay.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. And that's about it.
Thanks, Keith. Jeff?
I wanted to ask something here. The 2015 business license renewals are coming out, and I was wondering if council thought it'd be a good idea to send the new parking sign ordinance in copy to every business owner, saying that they could buy that spot in front of their business. So I don't know if we should address whoever sends out the bills, if we have to.
We could put a note in, or maybe we could tell the administration. I mean, we could make the suggestion to the administration, but they do what they want.
Well, that's what I wanted to suggest.
I mean, that's up to the mayor.
Is it a compiled suggestion, or?
I mean, that's a great suggestion. We could do that, Jeff. I'm for it.
Lisa,
Yeah.
can you?
Maybe send that to
An application
send
in.
that to the mayor, that we suggest that he sends a memo out about they could buy the parking in front of their place. And that's from council, from all of council.
With the business license, so it
Yeah,
doesn't
with the
cost.
business,
what
make
doesn't
that
cost us
suggestion.
anything. Next, I wanted the budget. I guess not next meeting. The meeting after is the budget should be introduced to us. So I was just wondering if you could think about a couple extra meetings, maybe we could schedule, because I will be out of state for 2 weeks or 2 separate times in November.
Okay, yeah, we could do that.
We can put extra minutes.
We could put extra meetings.
Just in case
I'm
we don't,
okay
so
with
we
that.
don't have time restraints like we did last
We
year.
could have extra meetings. That's okay with me.
And then I got a phone call.
Especially work session.
Work session.
Yeah, we could do that.
I got a phone call about an airport vehicle. I think he said Mark talked to you too.
About the what?
The vehicle, the plow truck up at the airport. He wanted to know if there's anything that we could do to get the brace welded back on, because Dominic wants to buy a brand new truck, and the guy that does the plowing was concerned.
Now, somebody had talked to me about that too.
He
Jeff.
told me.
Yeah,
He told me to talk to you.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure how we went about spending money or sending the street
Well, maybe
crew up there.
we'll tell Frankie Vito. Well, he's not here, but send the memo to Frankie Vito. Have one of our guys look at it.
I just didn't want to go do it without consent of everybody. And then I guess one other thing is, I had a couple comments about the safety tax and how council raised our taxes $1 million. But I just wanted to clarify that we did not raise taxes $1 million. We just voted to put the question on the ballot, which we knew we couldn't get on there, but it was just to give the public the choice.
Yeah,
I just wanted to clarify that.
That's good.
And because I got a lot of comments at when I was hanging out at Casats this week. And I guess that's about it. Thank you all for coming.
Okay. Go ahead, Jean.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming again and participating. It was a great meeting. I appreciate all the input. I appreciate all the enthusiasm. And yeah, you're right. We have to get together and work together and get something done. We did a resolution 2014-107, and it was recognizing the Epilepsy Awareness Month. They do a great job, this organization. It's been in service for 40 years, and it's a cause that most people don't like to talk about, but it's something that we have, and it should be recognized. And that's why I was glad we did this recognition of the month being an epilepsy month. And I'd like to thank everybody, again, like I said, for participating, and be patient. We're trying to do the best we can. We are working somewhat with a disability, not having the presence of our administrator or a solicitor at this point in time. Hopefully things will change. I'm not sure if that will happen, but I would love to see it happen, that we can move forward and get things done more smoothly, because as you see, questions are asked during the course of the evening, and it would be beneficial if that we had the ability to have an answer even from the city administrator. Thank you, Frank, for showing up. Thank you for giving us the input that you do. We appreciate it. And I'd like to say good night to everybody.
Thank you, Jane. Dave, Dr. Sosa?
Again, let me just reiterate what Jeannie said about Epilepsy Month. Having been a teacher, I've witnessed it. I know the suffering that families go through, and I think it's a very worthwhile cause. Thank you, Frank, for being here. Thank you, Donnie, for being here, too, and thank you,
Donnie.
firefighters, for being
Sorry.
here. We overlooked you, but you know what? You were my student,
city
too,
garage. Thanks.
besides Fabergé over here, and he's a lot taller than you are, so he can hurt me. The fact of the matter is that one of the things that happens, and you sound like a broken record about this, but unfortunately,
Fallon, thank you.
without attendance here, there is no accountability. There's no responsibility. It's very easy to govern when you don't have to answer anybody's questions, when you don't have to be responsible for what goes on, because you are distant from everybody, and that's exactly what you're seeing. Whether you agree or whether you disagree with what we on council do here, we've been here every meeting to be able to answer your questions. Fabergé, I think that's a wonderful idea, and Mr. Moran has already left. But if you're going to walk up Alter Street or you're going to walk up any other street, Judy, you, anybody else, I'll be happy to stand in the front and walk with you anytime you want. You won't see me, but I'll be there.
That's because he's short. He knows
Okay,
they
I'll
won't
be
hit
there.
him.
And I think that's a marvelous idea. But again, you know what, and you see this from politicians all too oftentimes. I govern because I don't have to look at their faces. I don't have to answer to anybody. And I just want you to know what I've done and what I haven't done because I put it in the paper. We're here at least doing what we can. And it's unfortunate that, unfortunately, we don't have any accountability and responsibility from those who in some cases really matter because they can call some of the shots. I'm not going to scream and yell, but I think that's all too important. And if it sounds like we're back into conflict again, I don't mean to. But I do think that this is important. And those of you who are here have seen this all too oftentimes. I'm sorry. We're going to do the best that we can, but that's all that we can do. I'm with you. Thank you.
I just have one quick thing. I was at the 75th anniversary for Catholic Social Services. Attorney Kennedy was there along with his 6th grade teacher. And he's a little older than you, Dave. Attorney Kennedy.
Attorney Kennedy, by
Yeah,
about
his
a year or
6th grade
two.
teacher was in the audience. But I just want to congratulate them. And as far as the epilepsy awareness, I had a cousin who had epilepsy. He had, 20 years ago, I think he had surgery up in Montreal. And it was a new surgery, experimental, that sort of cures a lot of epileptics and cuts down on their medicine. It worked for him, and I think it's a great cause, and we should all be aware of it and help or donate to the cause and the research. With that, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
No, thank you. 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 No,